I should have known that October night would change everything. But when you're sleeping under bridges and digging through dumpsters just to survive, you don't think about destiny. You think about staying alive one more day. The rain hit like needles against my skin as I pressed myself against the alcove of an abandoned building. My threadbare jacket did nothing against the cold that seeped into my bones. I'd been on the streets for 8 months. 8 months since my world fell apart, since I lost everything. Thunder cracked overhead, and that's when I saw it. The black Mercedes came out of nowhere, hydroplaning across the bridge. Time seemed to slow as it smashed through the railing, the metal screaming as it gave way. The car hung there for one impossible moment before gravity claimed it, dragging it down into the dark, churning river below. I should have kept walking. That's what smart people do. They don't get involved. But something in me, some stubborn piece that refused to die despite everything I'd been through, made my legs move. I ran. My worn sneakers pounded against the wet pavement as I reached the bridge's edge. Below, the Mercedes was already half submerged, its headlights creating eerie beams through the murky water. I could see a figure slumped against the steering wheel. "God help me," I whispered and jumped. The impact knocked the air from my lungs. The river in October was like jumping into liquid ice. My body screamed in protest, but I forced myself to swim toward the sinking car. The driver's side window was shattered, probably from the impact. That was the only reason I had a chance. I dove under, my lungs already burning. Through the broken window, I could see him, a massive man, unconscious, his body going limp as water filled the car. His face was striking even in the darkness, all sharp angles and dark features. Blood trickled from a gash on his forehead. I grabbed his suit jacket, expensive fabric, even I could tell that, and pulled. God, he was heavy. Every muscle in my malnourished body strained as I dragged him through the window. My vision was starting to blur, black spots dancing at the edges. We broke the surface, and I gasped, gulping air like it was water in a desert. I hooked my arm under his chin the way I'd learned in a high school lifeguard class a lifetime ago, and kicked toward the shore. Each stroke felt impossible. He had to weigh over 200 pounds of pure muscle. Come on, come on, I panted, my arms shaking with exhaustion. Finally, I felt concrete under my feet. I dragged him onto the embankment, collapsing beside him. His lips were blue, his chest still. No. I didn't just risk my life for nothing. I positioned my hands on his chest and started compressions. 1, 2, 3, 4. I counted, pushing down with all my remaining strength. After 30 compressions, I tilted his head back, pinched his nose, and breathed into his mouth. Nothing. Don't you dare die on me, I growled, starting compressions again. My arms felt like they were on fire, but I couldn't stop. Wouldn't stop. Suddenly, he convulsed. Water erupted from his mouth as he coughed violently, his body rolling to the side. His eyes flew open, and what eyes they were! Even in his disoriented state, they were the most intense eyes I'd ever seen. Dark, piercing, intelligent. And right now, fixed directly on me. Sirens wailed in the distance, getting closer. I tried to stand, to slip away before the police arrived and started asking questions I couldn't answer, but my legs gave out. His hand shot out faster than I would have thought possible for someone who'd just nearly drowned. His fingers wrapped around my wrist, not painfully but firm, unmovable. Who? He coughed, water still sputtering from his lips. Who are you? Before I could answer, headlights flooded the embankment. But these weren't police cars. 3 black SUVs screeched to a halt, and men in expensive suits poured out, all of them armed. The man still gripping my wrist looked at them and rasped one word that made my blood run cold. Moretti. I'd heard that name whispered in alleys and dive bars. Dante Moretti. The man who owned half the city's underground. The man even criminals feared. And I'd just saved his life. One of the suited men, tall, scarred, terrifying, rushed forward. Boss. We thought. I'm alive. Dante cut him off, his voice gaining strength with each word. His eyes never left mine. Because of her. The scarred man looked at me like I was an insect he wanted to crush. "Sir, the police. Take us home. Now." Dante's grip on my wrist tightened slightly. "All of us." "Wait," I started to protest. "You saved my life," Dante interrupted, finally releasing my wrist only to cut my face with surprising gentleness. Even weak, his touch sent electricity through me. "That makes you mine now, and I protect what's mine." Before I could process his words, strong arms lifted me. The last thing I saw before darkness claimed me was Dante's intense gaze watching me as they carried us both toward the SUVs. I jumped into a river to save a stranger. I had no idea I'd just dove into something far more dangerous. I woke up warm for the first time in months. The sensation was so foreign that panic hit me before I even opened my eyes. Warmth meant shelter, and shelter meant someone might want something from me. On the streets, nothing came free. My eyes flew open. I was lying on the softest thing I'd ever felt, a bed with silk sheets the color of cream. Above me, a chandelier sparkled with what looked like actual crystals. The room around me was bigger than the entire apartment I'd grown up in. I bolted upright and immediately regretted it. My body screamed in protest, every muscle reminding me of last night's rescue. The river. The drowning man. Dante Moretti. Easy. The voice came from the shadows near the window, making me jump. "You're safe." He stepped into the morning light filtering through floor-to-ceiling windows, and my breath caught. Last night, unconscious and half-drowned, he'd been striking. Awake and alert, Dante Moretti was devastating. He had to be 6'4", all broad shoulders and lean muscle evident even through the fresh black suit he wore. His dark hair was styled back from a face that belonged on magazine covers, if magazines featured men who looked like they could kill you with their bare hands and not lose sleep over it. The only evidence of last night's accident was a butterfly bandage above his left eyebrow. But it was his eyes that held me frozen. Dark brown, almost black, and so intense I felt like he could see straight through me. "How long have I been asleep?" I asked, hating how small my voice sounded. 14 hours. He moved closer, and I noticed a slight stiffness in his gait, the only sign he'd nearly died. "You exhausted yourself saving me. The doctor said you were severely malnourished and dehydrated. How long have you been on the streets?" I pulled the silk sheets higher, suddenly aware I was wearing clothes I didn't recognize, soft cotton pajamas that fit perfectly. "Who changed me?" "My housekeeper, Maria. She's been with my family for 30 years. You were unconscious and hypothermic." His expression didn't change, but something flickered in those dark eyes. "You're evading my question. You're not entitled to my life story just because..." I started, but he cut me off by sitting on the edge of the bed. This close, I could smell him, expensive cologne mixing with something darker, more dangerous. "I died last night," he said quietly, his voice like gravel and silk. My heart stopped. I was gone. And you, a girl who had nothing, who owed me nothing, dragged me from that river and breathed life back into my lungs. He leaned closer and my heart hammered. "So yes, I think I'm entitled to know your name at least." "Maya," I whispered. "Maya Torres." "Maya." The way he said it made my name sound like a prayer and a possession all at once. Beautiful name for a beautiful savior. Before I could respond, the bedroom door burst open. A man I recognized from last night, the scarred one, strode in with 3 others, all armed. "Boss, we have a situation." "The Castellanos are..." He stopped short, noticing me. "This conversation isn't for civilians." Dante's hand shot out, gripping my wrist exactly as he had last night. But this time, he wasn't weak. This time, I felt the full strength of the man I'd saved, and it was terrifying and thrilling in equal measure. "She stays," Dante said flatly. "Continue, Marco." Marco's jaw tightened, but he nodded. "The Castellanos are claiming responsibility for the bridge. They're saying it was a warning. They want the docks, and they're willing to go to war. Let them try." Dante's voice dropped to something deadly. "Triple security on all our holdings. Find out who helped them. Someone on our side fed them my route." I want names by tonight. As Marco and his men discussed strategy, mentions of shipments, territories, and things that made my stomach turn, the reality of my situation crashed over me. I hadn't just saved a man. I'd saved a criminal. A powerful, dangerous criminal who now had me in his mansion. I tried to pull my wrist free. Dante's grip tightened almost imperceptibly. When the men finally left, I turned on him. Let me go. I saved your life. That doesn't give you the right to keep me prisoner. Prisoner? He stood, pulling me to my feet with him. We were inches apart. Look around, Maya. Does this look like a prison? A gilded cage is still a cage. Something like respect flashed across his face. You're not afraid of me. Should I be? Everyone else is. He raised his free hand, and I forced myself not to flinch. His fingers brushed my cheek so gently it made my chest ache. But not you. Even now, you look at me like you're ready to fight. Because I am. I didn't survive 8 months on the streets to become someone's, whatever you think I am. You want to know what I think you are? He leaned in, his lips almost touching my ear, his breath warm against my skin. Mine. I protect what's mine, Maya. And you just became the most valuable thing in my world. Why? I demanded, even as my traitorous body responded to his closeness. I'm nobody. Nobody. He pulled back just enough to meet my eyes, and what I saw there made my breath catch. You're the girl who jumped into freezing water without hesitation to save a stranger. The girl who fought death itself and won. The girl who looked at Dante Moretti and didn't see a monster. His thumb traced my lower lip. You're not nobody. You're extraordinary. A knock at the door broke the moment. A kind-faced older woman entered, carrying a tray of food that made my stomach growl audibly. Maria, Dante said, finally releasing my wrist. Make sure Maya eats. All of it. And show her the wardrobe I had prepared. Prepared? I echoed. How did you? I have excellent people. He was already walking toward the door. Rest today. Tomorrow, we talk about your future. I already have plans for my future. I called after him. They don't include you. He paused at the door, looking back with a smile that was more predatory than amused. Maya, someone tried to kill me last night. Until I find out who, anyone associated with me, is in danger. His expression hardened. That includes you. The moment you pulled me from that river, you painted a target on your back. My blood ran cold. What? The Castellanos have eyes everywhere. They know about you. They know you saved me. He said it so matter-of-factly, like he was discussing the weather. So you can stay here, under my protection, in luxury and safety. Or you can go back to the streets and wait for them to find you. Your choice. It wasn't a choice. It was a trap dressed up as salvation. I'll stay, I said through gritted teeth. But only until this is resolved. Of course. That dangerous smile widened. Whatever you need to tell yourself, Principessa. He left, and I sank back onto the bed, my mind racing. I'd saved his life, and somehow, in doing so, I'd tied mine to his. Maria set the breakfast tray on my lap, her eyes kind but knowing. Eat, child. You'll need your strength. For what? I asked, though I wasn't sure I wanted the answer. She patted my hand gently. For whatever comes next with Mr. Moretti. That man, when he decides he wants something, heaven and hell can't stop him from keeping it. I looked down at the gourmet breakfast. Pastries, fresh fruit, eggs prepared perfectly. Food I dreamed about during cold nights under bridges. Through the window, I could see the city below, and somewhere out there, people who wanted me dead. I thought jumping into that river was the most dangerous thing I'd ever done. I was starting to realize the real danger had only just begun. The closet was bigger than some of the apartments I'd lived in. I stood in the doorway, staring at rows of designer dresses, silk blouses, tailored pants, all in my size. Shoes lined the bottom shelves, everything from sneakers to heels that probably cost more than a month's rent. Tags still hung from most items, the prices making my head spin. How? I breathed, running my fingers over a cashmere sweater, so soft it felt like touching a cloud. Mr. Moretti had everything delivered this morning, Maria said from behind me, her accent thick with warmth. He's very thorough when he decides to care for someone. This isn't care. This is ownership. I turned to face her. Maria, I need you to be honest with me. Am I a prisoner here? The older woman's expression softened. In 27 years with the Moretti family, I've learned that Mr. Dante does nothing without purpose. But I've also learned that he honors his word. If he says you're under his protection, then heaven help anyone who tries to hurt you. She handed me a silk robe. Now there's a bathroom through that door. Real shower, hot water. When was your last hot shower, child? My eyes burned. 8 months ago. Then go. I'll lay out clothes for dinner. Mr. Moretti expects you at 7. The shower was everything I dreamed about during those cold, filthy nights on the streets. I stood under the scalding spray until my fingers pruned, washing away months of grime, fear, and survival. When I finally emerged, I found clothes laid out, dark jeans that fit perfectly, and a deep green blouse that made my hazel eyes stand out. I looked in the mirror and barely recognized myself. Clean, my dark hair glossy and hanging in waves past my shoulders, my face free of the dirt and exhaustion that had become my mask. I looked like the girl I used to be before everything fell apart. Beautiful. Maria breathed when I emerged. Now come. Dinner is ready, and Mr. Moretti doesn't like to be kept waiting. She led me through the mansion, and it was a mansion, not just a house. Marble floors, priceless artwork, rooms that seemed to go on forever. We finally reached a dining room with a table that could seat 20 people. Dante sat at the head, papers spread before him, a phone pressed to his ear. I don't care what Castellano says. The docks are ours and they'll stay ours. Make that clear. He ended the call and looked up, his dark eyes locking onto me. The intensity of his gaze made me feel exposed, like he could see every secret I'd ever kept. Maya. He stood, buttoning his suit jacket. You look clean, I supplied, walking toward him with more confidence than I felt. Turns out soap and water work wonders. A ghost of a smile touched his lips. I was going to say stunning. Please sit. The meal that followed was surreal. Course after course of food I'd only seen in magazines, served by silent staff who appeared and disappeared like ghosts. Dante watched me eat with an expression I couldn't quite read. You don't have to do this, I finally said, setting down my fork. The clothes, the food, this performance. Just tell me what you want from me. What I want. He leaned back in his chair, swirling wine in a crystal glass. I want you to recover, to regain your strength, to feel safe for the first time in months. Why? Because you saved my life. People save lives every day. They don't get held in mansions afterward. You're not being held. You're being protected. His jaw tightened. Do you understand what it means that you pull me from that river? The Castellanos will see you as leverage. My enemies will think you're important to me. But I'm not. I'm a stranger. Are you? He stood, moving around the table toward me with predatory grace. I fought the urge to lean back as he approached. You risked your life for mine without a second thought. You fought death for a man you didn't know. That's not the action of a stranger, Maya. That's the action of someone extraordinary. He was close enough now that I could smell his cologne, see the flecks of gold in his dark eyes. You keep saying that word. Extraordinary. I'm not. I'm just a girl who made a stupid, impulsive decision. No. His hand cupped my chin, tilting my face up to his. The touch sent electricity racing through me. You're a survivor who chose compassion over self-preservation. Do you know how rare that is? Especially in my world. Your world is exactly why I should have kept walking. But I didn't pull away from his touch. You're a criminal, Dante. Everything here is built on. On what? Say it. His thumb traced my lower lip and my breath hitched. On blood? Violence? Fear? Yes. All true. But it's also built on loyalty, protection, family. The people I protect live well. The people who betray me. His expression darkened. Well, they don't live long enough to regret it. I should have been terrified. Instead, I felt something else entirely, something dangerous and electric that made my pulse race. Is that supposed to scare me into compliance? I asked, proud that my voice didn't shake.
No.
He released my chin, stepping back, and I hated the loss of his warmth. It's supposed to make you understand the world you're in now. Whether you like it or not, Maya, you're connected to me. And in my world, that means something. A man burst into the dining room, Marco, his second in command. Boss, we have a problem. The security feeds show. He stopped seeing me. This isn't for her. She stays, Dante said flatly. Continue. Marco's jaw worked, but he nodded. There was a breach. Someone got through our perimeter. We found this. He held up a photograph. My blood ran cold. It was me from this afternoon, standing at the bedroom window. They know where she is, Marco said grimly. The Castellanos sent a message. They want the girl, or they're coming to take her. Dante's entire demeanor changed. The man who'd been touching me so gently moments ago disappeared, replaced by something deadly. How many men at the gates? 20. Another 30, patrolling the grounds. It's a fortress. Not enough. Dante turned to me, and for the first time since I'd met him, I saw something like fear in his eyes. This is my fault. I should have been more careful. I should have. You should have let me leave, I whispered. I could have disappeared. They would have found you. He moved to me again, his hands gripping my shoulders. At least here, you have a chance. At least here, I can... An explosion rocked the mansion. Dante shoved me behind him as the window shattered. Gunfire erupted outside, the sound of automatic weapons tearing through the peaceful evening. Alarms blared. Get her to the safe room, Dante shouted at Marco.
Now.
What about you? I grabbed his arm as he pulled a gun from inside his jacket. He looked at me, and in that moment I saw the truth. Whatever this was between us, this strange, intense connection that had formed in less than a day, it was real. And it was dangerous. I protect what's mine, he said, echoing his words from before. Then he kissed me, hard and fast and desperate. When he pulled back, his eyes burned with something fierce. Stay alive, Maya. That's an order. Marco grabbed my arm, pulling me toward a hidden door in the wall. The last thing I saw before the panel closed was Dante walking toward the sounds of gunfire, his gun raised, a dark angel moving to face hell itself. And I realized with stunning clarity, I'd jumped into a river to save his life. Now he might die saving mine. The safe room was exactly what it sounded like, a reinforced concrete box hidden in the heart of the mansion. No windows, steel door, and enough supplies to last weeks. It was a prison disguised as protection. I paced like a caged animal while Marco stood guard by the door, his weapon drawn, his expression carved from stone. How long? I demanded for the 10th time. Until it's safe. His tone said the discussion was over. Above us, I could hear the muffled sounds of gunfire. Each shot made me flinch, made me think of Dante out there, exposed because of me. This is insane, I muttered, running my hands through my hair. People are dying because I pulled him from a river. Because I tried to do the right thing.
No.
Marco's voice was surprisingly gentle for such a hard man. People are dying because the Castellanos are greedy bastards who've been looking for an excuse to start a war. You're just the excuse they chose. Don't take that weight on yourself. How can I not? If I'd just walked away, then the boss would be dead. He looked at me with something like respect. And for what it's worth, I've never seen him look at anyone the way he looks at you. In 15 years, I've never seen him give a damn about anyone outside the family. My heart hammered. It's been one day. You can't know someone in one day. You can when the person shows you who they are through their actions. Marco's expression softened slightly. The boss told me what you did. How you didn't hesitate. How you fought to save him even when your own body was giving out. That's character, Ms. Torres. And character is worth more than time in our world. Before I could respond, the sounds above stopped. The sudden silence was somehow more terrifying than the gunfire. Marco pressed his finger to his earpiece, listening. His face remained impassive, but something flickered in his eyes. What? I demanded. What's happening? The perimeter is secure. All hostiles neutralized.
He paused.
The boss is asking for you. Relief flooded through me so powerfully, my knees went weak. He's okay. Some scrapes, nothing serious. He won't let the medic touch him until he sees you're safe. Marco actually smiled. Stubborn bastard. The walk back through the mansion revealed the extent of the attack. Bullet holes in walls, shattered windows, blood on marble floors. Staff members were already cleaning, replacing, repairing, as if this was routine. Maybe in Dante's world, it was. I found him in his study, standing by the window with his back to the door. His jacket was gone, his white shirt torn and stained with blood. But he was alive, solid, real. Dante, I breathed. He turned, and the look on his face made my heart stop. Relief, hunger, possession, all tangled together in his dark eyes. In 3 strides, he was across the room, his hands cupping my face, his forehead pressing against mine. You're okay, he murmured, more to himself than me. Thank God you're okay. I was in a safe room. You were the one out there. I pulled back enough to look at him. You're bleeding. It's nothing. But he winced when I touched his side. Like hell it's nothing. I grabbed his hand, pulling him toward the leather couch.
Sit.
Where's the first aid kit? Maya, I'm fine. Sit, I said firmly. Or I'll make you sit. Something flickered across his face. Surprise, amusement, heat. He sat. I found the first aid kit in his desk drawer and knelt between his legs, reaching for the buttons of his shirt. My fingers trembled slightly as I undid them, revealing smooth skin over hard muscle, marred by a long gash across his ribs. You call this nothing? I grabbed antiseptic and gauze. This needs stitches. I've had worse. His voice was rough, and when I glanced up, his eyes were locked on my face with such intensity one forgot how to breathe. Much worse. Well, now you have me to patch you up, so maybe you'll have less worse in the future. I cleaned the wound as gently as I could, but he still hissed. Sorry. Don't be. His hand came up, his fingers threading through my hair. Do you know what I thought about out there? When the bullets were flying, and I wasn't sure we'd hold them off. What? I whispered, my hands stilling on his ribs. I thought about you. About those moments under the water when I was dying and you refused to let me go. About waking up and seeing your face. About the fact that I'd known you less than a day and you'd already changed everything. His thumb stroked my cheek. I thought, I just found her. I can't die now. Not when I just found her. My throat tightened. You barely know me. I know you're brave. I know you're stubborn. I know you have a good heart despite everything you've been through. He leaned closer, his lips inches from mine. I know that when you look at me, you see a man, not a monster. That's more than most people see. I see both, I admitted. The man who protects what's his. And the monster who builds empires on fear. And which do you want? His question hung in the air between us, loaded with meaning. Before I could answer, his phone rang. He ignored it. You should get that, I said softly. It could be important. Nothing is more important than this moment. But he answered anyway. His expression darkened as he listened.
When?
How many? Understood. Increase security. I want eyes on everyone in that family. He hung up and looked at me with something like regret. The Castellanos lost 20 men tonight. They're going to retaliate, and they're going to hit harder. Then let me go. I sat back on my heels. I'll disappear. I've done it before.
No.
The word came out harsh, almost angry. I won't let you. He stopped himself, running a hand through his hair. Maya, you don't understand. In my world, showing weakness gets you killed. And you. His hand cupped my face again. You're my weakness now. They know that. They saw how I reacted tonight, how many men I lost protecting you. They'll never stop coming. So, what's the answer? My voice broke slightly. I stay here forever? I become your prisoner. You become mine, he said simply. Not my prisoner.
Mine.
My responsibility. My everything. The words should have terrified me. Instead, they sent heat rushing through my veins. You can't just claim people, I protested weakly. I just did. He pulled me up, settling me on his lap with startling ease. I should have fought it. Instead, I found myself straddling him, my hands on his bare shoulders, his hands on my waist. Tell me you don't feel this. This thing between us. Tell me it's one-sided and I'll let you go. I couldn't, because the truth was I did feel it. This magnetic pull, this dangerous attraction that defied logic. One day shouldn't matter, but somehow it did. I feel it, I whispered, and it terrifies me. Good. His hand slid on my back, pulling me closer. It terrifies me too. I've never let anyone matter before. Never let anyone get close enough to hurt me. And then you. He laughed, but there was no humor in it. You dove into freezing water and saved my life and ruined me for anyone else. All in one night. Dante. He kissed me, and it was nothing like the quick kiss during the attack. This was deep, consuming, a claiming of its own. I melted into him, my fingers threading through his hair, my body pressing against his despite every logical thought screaming at me to stop. When we finally broke apart, both breathing hard, he rested his forehead against mine. Stay, he murmured. Not because you're in danger. Not because you owe me. But because you want to. Because you want to see where this goes. I thought about the streets, about the cold, about the constant fear. Then I thought about this, his warmth, his protection, this feeling of being wanted, of mattering to someone. I'll stay, I finally said, but on one condition. Name it. You teach me to survive in your world, not just hide in safe rooms. I want to learn to protect myself, to be an asset, not a liability. Something like pride flickered across his face.
Done.
Starting tomorrow you train, but tonight. His hands tightened on my waist. Tonight you let me protect you. Let me hold you and know you're safe. There were 100 reasons to say no. But looking into his eyes, seeing the vulnerability beneath the danger, I found myself nodding. He stood, lifting me with him like I weighed nothing, and carried me toward his bedroom. As he laid me down on his bed, his lips finding mine again, I realized something terrifying and exhilarating. I was falling for a monster, and he was falling right back, and at arm's length. Marco appeared an hour later, dressed in tactical gear. Ready to learn? The mansion had a gym that looked like a military training facility. Punching bags, weapons racks, mats for sparring. Marco didn't waste time on small talk. First rule, he said, tossing me a weighted vest. Never underestimate your opponent. Second rule, always fight dirty. Honor gets you killed. Survival keeps you alive. We spent hours drilling basics. How to throw a punch without breaking my hand. How to use my smaller size as an advantage. How to target vulnerable spots. Eyes, throat, groin. You're a natural, Marco admitted after I successfully executed a disarm technique. Have you had training before? Just what you learn on the streets. And I hesitated. My father was a cop. He taught me some basics before. Before he was killed in the line of duty, before my mother couldn't cope, before I lost everything. I didn't finish the sentence. Marco nodded like he understood. The boss said you're a survivor. I see it now. We moved on to firearms. He started me on a small pistol, teaching me grip, stance, breathing. The weight felt foreign and terrifying in my hands. This weapon could save your life, Marco said. Or take it if you're careless. Respect it, but don't fear it. I fired my first shot, the recoil jerking my arms. The target downrange remained untouched. Again. By the 100th shot, I was hitting the target consistently. By the 200th, I was grouping shots center mass. Marco watched with approval. You learn fast. That's good. You'll need to. We were taking a water break when his earpiece crackled. His expression darkened. How many? Jesus. Okay. Increase perimeter security. He stopped listening. Then his eyes cut to me. Understood. I'll tell her. My stomach dropped. What? The Castellanos just released a video. You should see it. He pulled out a tablet, pressing play. The screen showed a man I didn't recognize. Older, distinguished, dangerous. He sat in what looked like a throne room, surrounded by armed men. Dante Moretti, the man said, his accent thick. You cost me 20 men. You embarrass me in front of the other families. This I cannot forgive. He leaned forward. But I'm a reasonable man. I'll make you a deal. The girl who saved your life. Give her to me, and this ends. Keep her, and I'll burn everything you love to the ground. The video cut to footage from the bridge rescue, grainy security camera video showing me pulling Dante from the water. Then it showed photos of the mansion, of me at the window, clear shots that proved they'd been watching. You have 48 hours, the man continued. After that, we come for her. And we won't stop until she's dead. The video ended. I stared at the blank screen, my hands shaking. Who was that? Vincent Castellano, head of their family. Marco's voice was grim. This is bad, Maya. This is very bad. He just made you the most valuable target in the city. Then give me to them, I said, my voice hollow. End this before more people die. Not an option. Why not? I'm nobody. I'm not worth a war. You are to the boss. Marco gripped my shoulders, forcing me to meet his eyes. Listen to me. In Dante's world, you don't show weakness. You don't back down. And you sure as hell don't give up what's yours just because someone demands it. That video wasn't a negotiation. It was a declaration of war. And Dante never loses. But the sound of helicopters cut through the air. Multiple helicopters. Marco's earpiece exploded with chatter. His face went white. They're not waiting 48 hours. They're here now. Alarms blared throughout the mansion. Staff scattered, some toward safe rooms, others toward weapons caches. Marco grabbed my arm, pulling me toward the door. We need to get you to the safe room.
Now.
What about Dante? Where is he? 20 minutes out. We just have to hold until. The windows exploded inward as armed men on ropes descended from the helicopters. Gunfire erupted, the sound deafening in the enclosed space. Marco shoved me behind a concrete pillar, returning fire with deadly precision. Go, he shouted. Safe room.
Now.
But I couldn't move. Couldn't breathe. Couldn't think past the fact that this was happening because of me. People were dying because I'd saved one man's life. A Castellano soldier emerged from the smoke, his gun raised. Marco was reloading, wouldn't get his weapon up in time. Training took over. I grabbed the pistol from Marco's backup holster, raised it the way he taught me, and fired. The soldier dropped. Marco stared at me. Did you just? I learned from the best, I said, my voice surprisingly steady despite my shaking hands. Now, let's get to that safe room before. A hand grabbed my hair from behind, yanking me backward. I screamed, my gun clattering away. An arm wrapped around my throat, cutting off my air. The boss wants her alive, a voice growled in my ear. Vincent will pay extra for. I drove my elbow back into his ribs, just like Marco taught me. When his grip loosened, I dropped to the floor and swept his legs. He went down hard. Marco finished him with a shot. Not bad, kid, he said, pulling me to my feet. Now move. We ran through corridors filled with smoke and gunfire, Marco clearing the way. We were almost to the safe room when a figure stepped out of the shadows. Vincent Castellano himself. Well, well. He smiled, and it was the smile of a predator who'd cornered his prey. The girl who started a war. Pretty little thing. I can see why Dante wants to keep you. Stay back, Marco warned, his gun trained on Vincent's head. Shoot me, and my men will level this place. Vincent's smile widened. I'm just here to talk to the girl. Woman-to-man conversation, as it were. I have nothing to say to you, I said, proud that my voice didn't shake. Oh, but you do. You see, you have a choice. Come with me now, and I'll call off the attack. All these people will live. Or hide in your safe room while I burn this mansion to the ground with everyone in it. He pulled out his phone, showing footage of explosives being placed throughout the building. Your choice, sweetheart. What's more important, your safety or their lives? I looked at Marco, saw the answer in his eyes. Don't you dare. Then I looked at Vincent, at the man who'd killed dozens just to hurt Dante. And I made my choice. I'll go with you, I said. But you call off the attack right now. Prove they're safe, and I'll walk out with you willingly. Maya, no, Marco started. It's okay, I said softly. This ends now. Vincent made a call. The gunfire stopped. The explosives were disarmed remotely. I watched him do it. He kept his word. Smart girl. He held out his hand. Now come. We have much to discuss. I took a step toward him. And that's when the wall exploded. Dante came through the wall like an avenging angel, smoke and debris swirling around him. Blood streaked his face, his shirt was torn, and he looked like death incarnate. You made a mistake, Castellano, he said, his voice deadly calm. You came to my home. You threatened what's mine. Nobody survives that. Vincent's smile never wavered. Your girl just agreed to come with me. Why don't you ask her why? Dante's eyes cut to me, and I saw the betrayal there, the hurt beneath the rage. Maya? He was going to blow up the mansion. I said quickly. Everyone in it. I couldn't. So, you were just going to sacrifice yourself? His voice rose. After everything, after I told you I'd protect you, you were going to walk away with the man who wants you dead? To save lives. To stop this before. Before what? Before I lost you. He stalked toward me, ignoring Vincent entirely. Do you understand what would happen if you left with him? He'd torture you for information, then kill you slowly, just to make me suffer. And you were going to let him. I was going to stop a war. You were going to break me. His hands gripped my shoulders, his eyes blazing. I've survived 20 years in this life. I've been shot, stabbed, betrayed by people I trusted. And nothing hurt like the thought of losing you. Vincent laughed. How touching. But the girl made her choice. The girl made a choice under duress, Dante said coldly, finally looking at him. Which means it doesn't count. And you. He pulled a gun from his waistband with fluid grace. You violated the sanctity of my home. You threatened my people. You came for what's mine. His finger moved to the trigger. Any last words? Kill me and you start a war with every family in the city, Vincent said, but for the first time, his confidence wavered. I'm under their protection. Touch me and what? They'll come for me. Dante smiled, and it was terrifying. Let them. I'll bury them all next to you. Dante, wait, I said, grabbing his arm. If you kill him, then he dies knowing he failed. Dante's eyes never left Vincent. Marco, escort Mr. Castellano out. Tell him if he ever sets foot on my property again, I'll kill everyone he loves before I kill him. Slowly. Marco moved forward, his gun trained on Vincent. Let's go. Vincent started to protest, but something in Dante's eyes stopped him. He'd seen death there, I realized. He'd seen exactly how far Dante would go. This isn't over, Moretti, he said as Marco dragged him toward the exit. Yes, Dante replied quietly. It is. You just don't know it yet. When they were gone, Dante finally holstered his weapon and turned to me. The rage was gone, replaced by something raw and painful. You were going to leave, he said, and it wasn't a question. I was going to save you. I corrected. There's a difference. Not to me. He cupped my face, his thumb stroking my cheeks. Maya, I need you to understand something. In my world, we don't surrender. We don't give up what's ours. We fight until there's nothing left to fight for. And you. His forehead pressed against mine. You became what I fight for the moment you pulled me from that river. I can't be responsible for your choices, I whispered. For your wars. Then don't be. Be responsible for your own. He pulled back enough to meet my eyes. You say you don't want people to die for you? Then learn to protect yourself. Learn to fight. Become strong enough that nobody can use you as a weapon against me. That's what I've been trying to do. I know. Marco told me about your training. Something like pride flickered across his face. He said you're a natural, that you took down one of Castellano's men without hesitation. Is that true? I thought about the soldier, about pulling the trigger, about watching him fall. Yes. How did it feel? Terrifying. I met his gaze. And necessary. Good. Fear keeps you sharp. And understanding the necessity. He stroked my cheek. That's what separates survivors from victims. You're a survivor, Maya. You always have been. Surviving on the streets is different than surviving in your world. Is it? He led me through the damaged mansion, past cleanup crews already at work. On the streets, you fought hunger, cold, violence. People who'd hurt you, for what little you had. In my world, it's the same, just bigger stakes and better weapons. But the principle is identical. Stay alert, trust your instincts, and never let them see you weak. We ended up back in a study, the one room that seemed untouched by the chaos. He poured 2 glasses of whiskey, handing me one. Tell me about your training with Marco, he said, settling onto the couch and pulling me down next to him. I took a sip of the whiskey, welcoming the burn. He taught me to fight dirty, to use what I have, speed, agility, surprise. He taught me about weapons. I paused. He taught me to survive in your world. Show me. I blinked. What? Show me what you learned. He stood, moving to an open space in the study. Attack me. Dante, I can't. Yes, you can. And you will. Because if Castellano comes for you again, and he will, I need to know you can defend yourself long enough for me to reach you. His expression softened. Please, Maya. Show me you can protect yourself. Give me that peace of mind. I set down my glass and moved toward him. You'll go easy on me, right?
No.
If I go easy, you won't learn. He beckoned me forward. Come on, Principessa. Show me what you've got. I feinted left, then struck right the way Marco taught me, aiming for his solar plexus. Dante blocked it easily, but nodded approval. Good. Again. We sparred for 20 minutes, him calling out corrections, me adjusting and learning. He was stronger, faster, more experienced, but he was teaching, not dominating. Showing me weaknesses, explaining strategies. Your instincts are excellent, he said after I managed to land a hit to his ribs, the same ribs I'd bandaged last night. You read movement well, but you hesitate right before you commit to a strike. That hesitation will get you killed. How do I fix it? Trust yourself. He moved behind me, his hands on my hips, positioning me. Your body knows what to do. Your survival instincts are strong. You proved that by lasting 8 months on the streets. Stop second-guessing and just act. His breath was warm against my neck, his body solid against my back. Despite the lesson, despite everything, heat coiled in my belly. Again, he murmured. This time, don't think. Just react. He spun away, and I lunged without thought. My elbow caught him in the jaw, not hard enough to hurt, but enough to show I could've. Perfect. He smiled, rubbing his jaw. That's exactly what I want to see. Now, weapons. He moved to a cabinet, pulling out 2 practice knives. In close quarters, a knife can be more useful than a gun. Quieter, more intimate. And if you lose it, you use your hands. If you lose your hands... He grinned darkly. Well, you still have teeth. You're insane, I said, but I took the practice knife. Necessary insanity in my world. He circled me like a predator. Now, the key to knife fighting is... He moved so fast I almost missed it. The practice blade came at my throat, stopping just short of my skin. Never let them get close, he finished. Distance is your friend. Use it. We drilled knife techniques until my arms ached. Then hand-to-hand again. Then scenarios. What if someone grabs you from behind? What if you're cornered? What if you're outnumbered? You're thinking like prey, Dante said after I tried to escape a hold by pulling away. Stop running.
Start hunting.
Find the weakness and exploit it. Like this. He demonstrated, his movements fluid and deadly. Now you try. By the time we finished, I was exhausted, sweating, and oddly exhilarated. I'd learned more in a few hours with Dante than weeks would have taught me with anyone else. You're dangerous, he said, circling me one last time. Not just because of the techniques, but because you're smart enough to use them strategically. Castellano thought you were just a helpless girl to be used as leverage. He was wrong. I'm not helpless anymore, I agreed. Thanks to you. Thanks to Marco. No. He pulled me close, his hands on my waist. You were never helpless, Maya. You just didn't know how powerful you already were. The girl who saved my life in freezing water? The girl who survived 8 months of hell on the streets? That girl could survive anything. His lips brushed my ear. I just gave her the tools to fight back.
Why?
I leaned back to look at him. Why invest all this time in teaching me? You could just keep me locked in a safe room. Because you're not a doll to be locked away. His expression was fierce. You're a warrior who deserves to stand beside me, not behind me. And because. He hesitated, something vulnerable crossing his face. Because when Castellano had you today, when I thought I might lose you, I realized something. What? That I'm in love with you. He said it simply, like he was commenting on the weather. Completely. Irrevocably. In love with the girl who jumped into a river without hesitation. With the woman who offered herself to save my people. With the survivor who refuses to stay broken. He cupped my face. I love you, Maya Torres. And I need you strong enough to stay alive, because I can't survive losing you. My breath caught. Dante. You don't have to say it back. I know it's fast. I know it's crazy. But in my world, you don't wait to say what matters because you might not get another chance. His thumb traced my lower lip. I love you. And I will do whatever it takes to keep you safe and help you become the woman you're meant to be. Tears burned my eyes. I love you too, I whispered. I don't know how or why or when it happened, but I do. I love you, Dante Moretti. All of you, the man and the monster. He kissed me, and it was different from before. This wasn't possession or hunger or heat. This was promise. Commitment. Forever. When we finally broke apart, both breathing hard, he rested his forehead against mine. Tomorrow, we end this with Castellano, he said. But tonight, let me show you exactly how much you mean to me. He lifted me, carrying me toward his bedroom, and I wrapped my arms around his neck, finally feeling like I'd found where I belonged. In the arms of a monster who loved me, and whom I loved right back. I woke to an empty bed and the sound of angry voices downstairs. Dante's voice, harsh and commanding, mixed with Marco's and others I didn't recognize. Something was wrong. I dressed quickly in the tactical clothes Dante had given me. Practical pants, fitted shirt, boots. The weight of the small pistol he'd insisted I carry felt foreign against my hip, but reassuring. The voices grew louder as I descended the stairs. I found them in Dante's office. Marco, 3 other men I'd seen around the mansion, and Dante, looking more dangerous than I'd ever seen him. Don't care what his excuse is, Dante was saying. He gave them our security codes. He told them when I'd be away from the mansion. He helped them plan the attack. His fist slammed on the desk. That's treason, and you know what we do with traitors. Boss, one of the men said carefully, he's been with us for 15 years. Surely there's an explanation. The explanation is that he sold us out for money. Marco interjected. The evidence is clear. Financial records show payments from Castellano's accounts. Encrypted messages we decoded. He's the leak. I stepped into the doorway. Who are you talking about? Every head turned toward me. Dante's expression softened slightly, but the rage beneath remained. Someone I trusted, he said flatly. Someone who betrayed that trust. You should go back upstairs, Maya. This isn't. If it affects you, it affects me. I moved into the room. Who betrayed us? Tony, Marco said grimly. Head of security. He's been feeding information to Castellano for months. My stomach dropped. I'd met Tony, a friendly man in his 50s who checked on me after the first attack, who'd seemed genuinely concerned for my safety. Are you sure? I asked. The evidence is irrefutable. Dante pulled up files on his computer, showing me bank transfers, decoded messages, security footage of Tony meeting with known Castellano associates. He orchestrated everything. The bridge accident, the mansion attack, even today's helicopter assault. He gave them everything they needed to hurt us. Where is he now?
Contained, Marco said.
In the basement, waiting for the boss to decide his fate. I looked at Dante, saw the coldness in his eyes. You're going to kill him? Yes. No hesitation. No remorse. Betrayal has only one punishment in my world. Let me talk to him first. Everyone stared at me like I'd grown a second head. Absolutely not, Dante said. Maya, this man tried to have you killed, which is exactly why I want to talk to him. I met his gaze steadily. I need to understand why. I need to hear him explain how he could betray people who trusted him, who treated him like family. I swallowed. I need to know if this is what your world really is. Betrayal and death and cycles of violence that never end. Something flickered in Dante's eyes. Understanding, maybe, or respect. You're testing me. Testing whether I'm the man you love, or just the monster you fear. I know you're both. I'm trying to understand which one leads. He studied me for a long moment. Then he nodded. Marco, bring Tony up. But Maya, his hand caught my wrist. If he makes one wrong move, I'm ending this. Understood? Understood. They brought Tony up in chains, his face bruised, his expensive suit torn. When he saw me, something like shame crossed his features. Miss Torres, he said quietly, I'm sorry you have to see this. Are you sorry I have to see it, or sorry you did it? I asked, surprised by how calm my voice was. He looked at the floor. Both. Why? I moved closer, ignoring Marco's protective stance. Why betray Dante? He trusted you. He treated you like family. Family. Tony laughed bitterly. You think this is family? This is a crime syndicate built on blood and fear. Dante talks about loyalty, but what he means is ownership. And I was tired of being owned. So, you sold him out to Castellano? Dante's voice was deadly quiet. You gave them the information they needed to kill me, to hurt Maya, to attack our people. That's your definition of freedom? Castellano offered me a way out. Tony's voice rose. $10 million and safe passage to Europe. A chance to actually live instead of just survive in your shadow. I took it, and I'd do it again. Even knowing it would get innocent people killed? I asked. Innocent. Tony looked at me with something like pity. Girl, there's no innocent people in this world. Everyone here chose this life. Everyone here profits from violence and fear. Don't delude yourself into thinking otherwise. She didn't choose this, Dante said, moving to stand beside me. She jumped into a river to save a stranger. That's more honor than you've shown in 15 years of service. Honor doesn't pay the bills. Honor doesn't give you freedom. Honor gets you killed in this world. Tony met Dante's eyes. You know I'm right. Deep down, you know that the only way to survive is to be harder, colder, more ruthless than everyone else. It's what you've built your empire on. Wrong. Dante's hand found mine, lacing our fingers together. I built my empire on loyalty, on protecting my people, on keeping my word. Things you clearly never understood. Loyalty is just another word for chains. Tony's smile was bitter. But you'll figure that out eventually. They all do. I studied Tony's face, the defiance, the justification, the complete lack of remorse. And I understood something crucial. You're not sorry, I said softly. Not about the betrayal, not about the people who died, not about anything except getting caught. You're just angry it didn't work. Smart girl. His eyes hardened. Smarter than I expected. So what happens now? Dante kills me. You both pretend it's justice instead of murder, and the cycle continues. No, I said, surprising myself. Now you tell us everything. Every contact with Castellano, every piece of information you sold, every plan you helped arrange. You give us everything we need to end this war. And maybe you get to walk out of here alive." Tony laughed. "You think I'm stupid enough to believe that? The moment I talk, I'm dead. Either from you or from Castellano for betraying him. There's no walking away from this." "Then you have nothing to lose by talking," I pointed out. "At least this way, you might survive long enough to see another sunrise." Something shifted in his expression, calculation, self-preservation. "What's your offer?" I looked at Dante, who raised an eyebrow but nodded slightly, letting me lead. "Full confession. Names, dates, plans. Everything. In exchange, we don't kill you. We don't turn you over to Castellano. We put you somewhere you can't hurt anyone else, but you keep breathing." I leaned closer. "That's more mercy than you deserve, and more than you'll get from anyone else." Tony was quiet for a long moment. Then, "I want it in writing. Signed by Moretti. Witnessed by his men. I want insurance." "Done," Dante said immediately. "Marco, draw up the agreement." Over the next 3 hours, Tony talked. He revealed 2 more insiders working for Castellano. He gave us details on planned attacks, financial arrangements, even the location of Castellano's primary safe house, the one place he thought nobody knew about. "That's everything," Tony finally said, his voice hoarse. "Every dirty secret, every betrayal. Now honor your word, Moretti." Dante studied the documents Marco had prepared, pages of information that could end the war with Castellano in one coordinated strike. "I always honor my word," he said quietly. Then he pulled his gun. "No." I grabbed his arm. "We had a deal." "Yes." "We agreed not to kill him." Dante's smile was cold. "I'm not going to kill him. You are." The room went silent. "What?" I stared at him. "Dante, I can't. You said you needed to understand my world. This is my world, Maya. Justice. Consequences. The price of betrayal." He pressed the gun into my hand. "He tried to have you killed. He sold out everyone in this mansion to save himself. And now you decide, does he live or does he die? This is insane." My hand shook around the weapon. "I'm not a killer. You killed a man yesterday to save Marco." His voice was gentle but implacable. "You can do this. The question is, will you?" I looked at Tony, saw the fear finally breaking through his defiance. Then I looked at Dante at the test I knew this was. He was showing me exactly what his world demanded. What staying with him would mean. I raised the gun. My arm surprisingly steady despite my shaking hands. Tony's eyes went wide. "Please," he whispered. "You're not like him. You're not a monster." "No," I agreed. "I'm not. Which is why you're going to live." I lowered the gun, handing it back to Dante. "I won't kill him. Not because he deserves mercy, but because I refuse to become what this world demands. I refuse to let fear and violence turn me into something I'm not." Dante studied me for a long moment. Then, to my surprise, he smiled. A real smile, warm and proud. "Good," he said simply. "That's the right answer." "Wait, what?" I blinked. "You're not angry?" "Angry? Maya, you just proved you're stronger than this world. That you can survive in it without losing yourself." He pulled me close, his lips brushing my temple. "That's all I needed to know." He turned to Marco. "Take Tony to the offshore facility. Keep him contained but alive. When this is over with Castellano, we'll decide what to do with him." As they dragged Tony away, he called out, "You think you're different, girl? You think you can stay clean in this world? Just wait. Eventually, you'll have to choose. And when you do, you'll become just like him." When they were gone, I turned to Dante. "Was that whole thing a test?" "Partially." He cupped my face. "I needed to know if you could make the hard choice. If you could hold a gun to someone who hurt you and still choose mercy. Because that's the kind of strength I need beside me, Maya. Not someone who can pull the trigger without thinking. I have plenty of those. But someone who can hold the power and choose not to use it." His thumb traced my cheek. "That's real power. That's what will help me change this world." "Change it how?" by being better than what came before, by building something that doesn't rely on fear and violence alone, but on loyalty and protection. His smile turned predatory. But first, we used Tony's information to end Castellano. Once and for all. When? I asked. Tonight. His kiss was fierce, claiming, "Tonight, we end this war. And tomorrow, we start building something better." As his lips found mine, as his hands pulled me close, I realized something terrifying. I'd fallen in love with a monster. But maybe, just maybe, I could help him become something more. The safe house Tony had revealed turned out to be a fortress hidden in the industrial district, warehouses, shipping containers, and enough armed guards to start a small war. Which, according to Dante's plan, was exactly what we were about to do. "You're staying here," Dante said for the 5th time as his men geared up. "This isn't negotiable, Maya. I'm not asking permission." I checked the magazine in my pistol the way he taught me. "I'm going." "Like hell you are." He grabbed my wrist, but gently. "You've had 3 days of training. These are professional killers we're facing. I'm not risking you. And I'm not sitting here while you risk your life because of me." I met his eyes steadily. "This war started because I saved you. It ends with both of us there." "Maya." "Boss," Marco interrupted, strapping on body armor. "We need to leave in 10 minutes if we want to hit them during shift change." Dante's jaw clenched. The war between protection and respect played out across his face. Finally, he exhaled sharply.
"Fine.
"But you are full tactical gear. You stay with Marco at all times, and if I tell you to run, you run. No arguments. No heroics." His hands gripped my shoulders. "Promise me." "I promise." I stood on my toes, kissing him softly. "I'm not trying to be reckless. I'm trying to be your partner." Something flickered in his eyes. Vulnerability, fear, love. "If anything happens to you, it won't, because you'll be there." I touched his face. "Like you've been there since the moment I pulled you from that river." He pulled me close, his embrace almost desperate. Against my ear, he whispered, "When this is over, I'm taking you away from all of this. Somewhere safe. Somewhere you can breathe." "I can breathe with you," I murmured back. "Anywhere." Marco cleared his throat. "Boss. Time." The convoy consisted of 6 SUVs, each filled with Dante's most trusted men. I rode with Dante and Marco, body armor heavy on my frame, my pistol a solid weight at my hip. As we drove through the city toward the industrial district, Dante held my hand, his thumb tracing circles on my palm. "The plan is simple," he explained, more for my benefit than anyone else's. "We hit them from 3 sides simultaneously. Marco's team takes the east entrance, Giovanni's team takes the west, and I take the main entrance with the primary force." He looked at me. "You stay with Marco. He's the best tactical mind I have. If things go wrong, he'll get you out." "What about you?" I asked. His smile was dark. "I'll be fine. Castellano wants me dead. That makes me predictable. He'll focus all his attention on wherever I am, which gives Marco and Giovanni better odds." "You're using yourself as bait," I realized. "I'm using myself as a weapon." He kissed my knuckles. "It's what I do best." We arrived at the staging point, an abandoned warehouse a quarter mile from Castellano's fortress. Dante's men moved with practiced efficiency, checking weapons, reviewing positions, communicating through earpieces. Dante pulled me aside one last time. "Marco will keep you safe. Trust him like you trust me." "I do." I gripped his tactical vest. "But you come back to me, Dante Moretti. You come back, or I'm coming in after you." Stubborn woman. But he smiled. "I love you. I love you too." I kissed him, pouring every ounce of feeling into it. "Now go end this war." His team moved out, shadows disappearing into the darkness. Marco's hand on my shoulder was steady. "Stay low, stay quiet, and do exactly what I say," he instructed. "The boss would kill me himself if anything happened to you." "I'll follow your lead," I promised. We moved through the industrial maze, Marco's team flowing like water around obstacles. 6 men total, all armed to the teeth, all moving with lethal precision. The eastern entrance came into view, a heavy steel door guarded by 2 of Castellano's men. Marco made a hand signal. 2 of his men raised silenced weapons. The guards dropped without a sound. "Move," Marco whispered. We breached the door, entering a dimly lit corridor. The intel Tony had provided was accurate. We were in the service section, away from the main force. We could hear voices ahead, the sounds of normal conversation. They didn't know we were here. Not yet. An alarm suddenly blared through the building. Dante's team had engaged. "Go, go," Marco shouted, and all pretense of stealth vanished. We ran through corridors, Castellano's men appearing from doorways and side passages. Marco's team moved like a machine, each covering the other, their shots precise and deadly. I stayed in the middle of the formation like Dante had ordered, my weapon ready, but not needed, until we rounded a corner and came face to face with a dozen armed men. "Down." Marco yanked me behind a concrete pillar as bullets chewed through the walls. His men returned fire, the sound deafening in the enclosed space. I peeked around the pillar, saw one of Castellano's men flanking our position. My training took over. I raised my pistol, breathed out, and fired.
He dropped.
"Nice shot," Marco called. "But stay behind cover." The firefight lasted 30 seconds that felt like hours. When it ended, all of Castellano's men were down, and we'd lost no one. But I could hear more coming. "We need to move," one of Marco's men said, "before they box us in." We pushed deeper into the complex, following the route Tony had mapped. The sounds of battle echoed from other sections, Dante's team, Giovanni's team, all converging on the central area where Castellano would be. We burst into a large open space, what looked like a converted warehouse floor. And there, across the room, I saw Dante. He was magnificent and terrible, moving through Castellano's men like death incarnate. His movements were fluid, deadly, each shot finding its target. Blood spattered his face, but his expression was cold, focused. And then I saw Castellano himself, emerging from a fortified position, a rocket launcher on his shoulder, aimed directly at Dante. "No!" The scream tore from my throat. Everything happened at once. Marco tried to grab me, but I was already moving. Dante's head whipped toward my voice, distraction breaking his focus, for just a second. Castellano's finger moved to the trigger. I raised my pistol and fired.
Once. Twice.
3 times. The first shot missed. The second hit Castellano's shoulder. The third struck the rocket launcher itself. The explosion was massive. The blast wave knocked me off my feet, my ears ringing, my vision blurred. Strong hands pulled me up, Marco, his mouth moving, but I couldn't hear him. He was pointing, dragging me toward where the explosion had occurred. Through the smoke and debris, I saw Dante lying motionless on the ground. No, no, no. I tore free from Marco, running toward him. My hands found his face, his neck, searching for a pulse. "Dante! Dante, please!" His eyes opened, dazed but alive. "Maya?" His voice was rough. "What, did you just shoot a rocket launcher?" "Technically, I shot the man holding the rocket launcher," I said, my voice breaking as tears streamed down my face. "Are you okay? Are you hurt?" "Just," he coughed, sitting up with my help. "Just my pride. You saved my life. Again. That's what partners do." I helped him stand, his arm around my shoulders. Around us, the sounds of battle were dying down. Dante's men were securing the area, rounding up survivors. Castellano's body lay 20 feet away, killed by his own weapon. "It's over," Marco said, appearing beside us. "We've secured the compound. Castellano's entire leadership is either dead or captured. His organization is finished." Dante looked at me, really looked at me, covered in dust and debris but standing tall. "You were supposed to stay with Marco." "I did. Until you needed me more." I touched his face. "I told you, partners." He pulled me into a kiss that tasted of smoke and blood and victory. When we broke apart, he rested his forehead against mine. I'm getting you out of this world, he murmured. Tonight. Tomorrow. As soon as possible. This life, this violence, you deserve better. I deserve you, I corrected. All of you. The man who protects his people. The leader who honors his word. Yes, even the part that lives in darkness. I met his eyes. But you're right about one thing. We both deserve better than this constant war. So, let's build something better. Together. He studied my face, seeing the determination there. The strength. The woman I'd become in just a few days. Together, he agreed. But first, he turned to his men, his voice ringing with authority. Burn it all. Every shipment, every record, everything connected to the Castellanos. I want their empire erased from history. As his men moved to comply, Dante laced his fingers with mine. Let's go home. We walked out of that warehouse together, leaving behind the violence and blood. Behind us, flames began to consume the last remnants of the war. But as we climbed into the SUV, as Dante pulled me close, I couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't finished. That peace had been bought too easily. And when Marco's phone rang, when his face went white as he listened, I knew my instinct was right. Boss, he said quietly, we have a problem. A big one. What now? Dante's voice was tired. It's not Castellano's men. It's the 5 families. They're calling an emergency council. Marco swallowed hard. They're demanding you answer for starting a war without their approval. And they want Maya handed over for her role in Castellano's death. My blood ran cold. We'd won the battle. But the real war was just beginning. The Council of 5 Families met in a place that looked like a cathedral, vaulted ceilings, marble columns, and enough history soaked into the walls to make my skin crawl. Dante sat at a massive table with 4 other men who radiated the same dangerous power he did. I stood behind him, Marco at my side, both of us armed despite the supposed sanctity of the meeting. Dante Moretti. The man at the head of the table spoke with a heavy Italian accent. Don Salvatore, Dante had told me, the oldest and most respected of the 5. You started a war without council approval. You decimated an entire family. You destabilized our carefully maintained balance. Explain yourself. Castellano tried to kill me, Dante said calmly.
Twice.
He attacked my home, threatened my people, and made it clear he wouldn't stop until I was dead. I defended myself and mine. That's not starting a war. That's survival. Over a girl. Another Dawn, younger, cruel-looking, sneered at me. You burned down an empire because you got attached to some homeless. Finish that sentence, Dante said softly, and I'll kill you where you sit, council or not. The room went silent. Don Salvatore raised a hand. Peace, Dante. Enzo speaks out of turn, but the concern is valid. This girl, he looked at me with calculating eyes. She appears to be your weakness. And weaknesses in our world get exploited. She's not a weakness. Dante stood, his hand finding mine. She's my strength. And she's not some homeless girl. She's the woman who saved my life without asking for anything in return. Who faced down Castellano's men without flinching. Who risked everything to protect my people. His voice hardened. She's mine. And anyone who touches her answers to me. Romantic, Don Salvatore said dryly. But irrelevant. The rules are clear, Dante. You don't start wars without approval. You don't destroy families without consensus. You acted alone, and that requires consequences. What consequences? I asked, surprising myself by speaking. All eyes turned to me. Maya, Dante started, but I squeezed his hand. No. If this is about me, I have a right to speak. I looked at Don Salvatore. You want someone to pay for the war? Fine. Let me. I'm the one Castellano targeted. I'm the one who shot him. Let Dante go, and take your pound of flesh from me. Absolutely not, Dante growled. Interesting. Don Salvatore leaned back in his chair. The girl has courage. And she makes a fair point. You did kill Vincent Castellano, child. That's not a small thing. He was about to kill Dante with a rocket launcher, I pointed out. I made a choice. I'd make it again. Even knowing it would lead here? To this moment, Don Salvatore's eyes were sharp. Even knowing you might pay with your life? Especially then. I met his gaze steadily. Because some things are worth dying for. And Dante is one of them. Murmurs rippled around the table. The Dons exchanged glances, some approving, some skeptical. She loves him, one of them muttered. Truly loves him. Or she's a very good actress, Enzo countered. Enough. Don Salvatore stood, his presence commanding the room. I will offer you a choice, Dante. One that will satisfy the council and end this matter. I'm listening, Dante said, his body tense beside me. You walked away from Castellano's empire with nothing. No territory, no assets, no spoils of war. That shows restraint. Wisdom, even. Don Salvatore paced slowly. But the precedent you've set is dangerous. If every slight, every threat, every attack justifies total war, we'll tear ourselves apart. So, what's the choice? I asked. Simple. Don Salvatore stopped, looking between us. Dante, you can keep your girl and your empire. But you step back from active leadership. You become an advisor, a consultant, respected but not ruling. You live quietly, peacefully, and you never again take action without council approval. He paused. Or, you maintain your full power and position, but the girl goes. Permanently. Into witness protection, overseas, somewhere you'll never find her. You sacrifice your weakness to maintain your strength. The room went deathly silent. Dante's hand tightened on mine almost painfully. You're asking me to choose between my empire and Maya. I'm asking you to choose what matters more. Don Salvatore's expression was unreadable. Power or love? The throne or the woman? The choice that every great man must eventually make. There's no choice, Dante said immediately. I choose Maya. I'll step back, advise, do whatever you want. But she stays with me. Dante, no. I turned to face him. You've spent your entire life building this. You can't just. Yes, I can. He cupped my face, his eyes intense. Maya, I've had power. I've ruled through fear and violence. And I was empty, dead inside. Until you. His thumb traced my cheek. You brought me back to life. You showed me there's more to existence than just surviving. Without you, I'm just a monster with an empire. With you, I'm a man who is something worth living for. But your people will be fine under new leadership. Marco can take over. He's ready. Dante's smile was sad but genuine. I've been looking for an excuse to leave this life, Maya. I just didn't realize it until you gave me something to leave it for. How touching, Enzo said mockingly. The great Dante Moretti, brought down by a homeless girl. Your father would be ashamed. My father, Dante said coldly, was a cruel man who died alone because he valued power over everything else. I won't make his mistakes. Then it's decided. Don Salvatore nodded. Dante Moretti steps down as head of his family. Marco Russo assumes leadership. Dante remains as advisor but takes no direct action without council approval. In exchange, the girl lives, and this matter is closed. Wait, I said suddenly. I have another option. Everyone stared at me. Maya, what are you doing? Dante whispered urgently, giving us a real choice. I addressed the council. You say Dante can't have both power and me, because I'm his weakness. But what if I'm not? What if I'm an asset? Explain, Don Salvatore said, intrigued. For the past 8 months, I've survived on the streets. I know the city's underbelly in ways none of you do. I know the people you ignore, the homeless, the addicts, the forgotten ones who see everything and are seen by no one. My heart pounded, but my voice stayed steady. You want intelligence networks? I can build you one from the ground up, made of people you'd never think to use. People who are invisible. Interesting, Don Salvatore mused. But why would we trust you? Because I love Dante, which means I'm invested in his survival, in his success. I looked at each Don in turn. And because I proved today that I'm willing to kill to protect what's mine. That makes me useful in your world, doesn't it? Silence. Then Don Salvatore laughed, a genuine, surprised sound. She's right. Ruthless and smart. No wonder you fell for her, Dante. He looked at the other Dons. I propose a compromise. Dante keeps his position, but shares power with Marco for the next year, a transition period. The girl proves her value by building this intelligence network. If she succeeds, they both stay in full power. If she fails, he shrugged. Then Dante steps down as originally offered. And if the other families object? One Don asked. Then they'll have to go through all of us, Don Salvatore said firmly. I'm tired of unnecessary bloodshed. Dante defended himself and his people. That's his right. And I'd rather have him and his girl as stable allies than create a power vacuum by forcing him out. The vote was quick. 4-1 in our favor. Only Enzo voted against us. As we left the cathedral, Dante pulled me into the shadows, his kiss fierce and grateful. You're insane, he murmured against my lips. You just committed yourself to building a spy network for the mob. I committed myself to building a life with you. I corrected. Whatever that takes. You could have let me walk away. We could have had peace, safety. We would have had regret. I touched his face. You love this life, Dante. Not the violence, but the protection, the power to keep people safe, the ability to make real change. I saw it in your eyes when Don Salvatore asked you to choose. You didn't want to give it up. I wanted you more. And now you have both. I smiled, because I'm done being just the girl you rescued. I'm going to be your partner. Your equal. And together, we're going to change this world from the inside. He kissed me again, deeper this time. When we finally broke apart, his smile was pure mischief. Marco's going to kill us both when he finds out about your plan. Probably. I laced my fingers with his as we walked toward the waiting SUV. But he'll help anyway, because that's what family does. Family. The word settled over me like a warm blanket. I'd lost my family once, lost everything. But maybe, just maybe, I was building something new. Something worth fighting for. As we drove away from the cathedral, Dante's arm around me, I looked back one last time. The war was over. The council was satisfied. But my real work was just beginning. And I couldn't wait to start. 6 months later, the foundation's ribbon-cutting ceremony was everything I'd hoped for. The building stood in one of the city's roughest neighborhoods, a place I'd once called home during my darkest days. Now it was a beacon of hope, Maya's haven, offering shelter, job training, and support for the homeless youth of the city. I stood at the podium in a designer dress that still felt foreign, looking out at the crowd. Reporters, city officials, donors, and in the back, trying to be inconspicuous, Dante and his men. My two worlds colliding in the best possible way. 8 months ago, I began, my voice steady despite the nerves. I was sleeping under a bridge, wondering if I'd survive another night. I was invisible, forgotten, one of thousands struggling just to exist. I paused, finding Dante's eyes in the crowd. And then I made a choice. I saw someone in trouble, and instead of walking away, I jumped into freezing water to help. That choice changed my life in ways I never could have imagined. I gestured to the building behind me. This foundation exists because I learned something important. We all have the power to save each other. Sometimes it's dramatic, pulling someone from a sinking car. Sometimes it's simple, offering food, shelter, a second chance. But every act of compassion ripples outward, creating change we can't always see. The speech continued, but my mind drifted to the past 6 months. Building the intelligence network had been harder than I'd expected, but incredibly rewarding. The people I'd known from the streets, the ones society overlooked, became my most valuable assets. They saw drug deals, overheard plans, noticed patterns that even Dante's sophisticated surveillance missed. And in exchange, I gave them what they needed most: hope, safety, and a path forward. The network had already prevented 3 major conflicts, exposed 2 corrupt officials working with rival families, and saved countless lives. Don Salvatore himself had called to congratulate me last week, admitting he'd underestimated my potential. But more than that, I'd found my purpose. The foundation was the public face of my work, helping people rebuild their lives. The intelligence network was the shadow, protecting Dante's people and maintaining peace. Two sides of the same coin, just like Dante and I. After the ceremony, after photos and handshakes and promises to various donors, I finally found myself alone with Dante on the foundation's roof, overlooking the city as the sun set. "You are magnificent," he said, pulling me against his chest. Confident. Powerful. Every inch the woman I knew you'd become. "I couldn't have done any of this without you." I leaned into his warmth. "You gave me the tools, the resources, the belief that I could be more than just a survivor. You were always more. I just helped you see it." His arms tightened around me. "Maya, there's something I want to ask you." I turned in his embrace, and my breath caught. He was lowering himself to one knee, pulling out a small velvet box. "Dante, 6 months ago, you pulled me from death. You gave me a reason to live instead of just survive. You've challenged me, changed me, made me want to be better than the monster I was becoming." He opened the box, revealing a ring that caught the dying sunlight, an emerald surrounded by diamonds, the green stone the exact color of my eyes. "Maya Torres, will you marry me? Will you build this new world with me as my partner, my equal, my wife?" Tears blurred my vision. Yes. God, yes. He slipped the ring on my finger, then stood, lifting me into a kiss that felt like coming home. When we broke apart, both laughing and crying, he pressed his forehead to mine. "I love you," he murmured. "My savior, my strength, my everything." "I love you too." I touched his face, this man who was so much more than the sum of his darkness. My monster, my protector, my home. We stood there as the city lights began to twinkle below us, two people who'd found each other in the most impossible circumstances and built something extraordinary. "So," Dante said after a while, "should we tell Marco, or let him figure it out when he sees the ring?" I laughed. "He's probably already figured it out. He notices everything." "True." Dante's smile turned mischievous. "Though he's still not over you recruiting half the city's homeless population as spies. He got over it when they prevented that assassination attempt on him last month." "Fair point." He kissed my temple. "What do you want to do now? The night is ours." I thought about it, the fancy restaurants we could go to, the events we could attend, all the trappings of our new life. Then I looked at the foundation below us, at the neighborhood where I'd once struggled to survive. "Let's go help serve dinner downstairs," I said. "I want to spend my engagement night giving back to the people who taught me how to survive." Dante's expression softened with love and pride. "Have I mentioned that you're extraordinary? Once or twice?" I took his hand, leading him toward the stairs. "But I don't mind hearing it again." We spent the evening serving meals, talking with residents, hearing their stories. Some recognized me from my street days and couldn't believe the transformation. Others were new, still broken and afraid, but finding comfort in the warm meal and safe space. One girl, maybe 16, with hollow eyes I remembered seeing in the mirror, approached me hesitantly. "Is it true," she asked, "that you used to be like us?" "Yes," I said honestly. 8 months ago, I was sleeping under the bridge 2 blocks from here. And now you're..." She gestured at everything. My dress, my ring, the foundation bearing my name. "How?" "I made a choice to help someone, even when it was dangerous, even when I had nothing to gain." I took her hands. That choice led to other choices, each one building on the last. It wasn't easy, and it wasn't always safe. But I learned that we're all stronger than we think. We're all capable of more than we believe. "Do you really think I could?" She trailed off, hope and fear warring in her expression. "I think you can do anything you set your mind to." I squeezed her hands, starting with staying here tonight in a warm bed. "Tomorrow, we'll talk about job training, education, whatever you need. But tonight, just rest. You're safe now." Tears streamed down her face. "Thank you." As she walked away to get her room assignment, Dante appeared at my side. You gave her hope. That's more valuable than anything. Hope is what kept me alive on the streets, I said softly. It's the least I can give back. Later, as we drove home through the city, our city now, transformed by the work we'd done together, I thought about the impossible journey that had brought me here. From drowning in a river to pulling a man from death. From homeless and broken to powerful and whole. From alone to loved beyond measure. What are you thinking about? Dante asked, his thumb stroking my hand where my engagement ring glittered. That night on the bridge, I admitted. When I jumped into the water, I thought I was just saving a life. I had no idea I was saving my own. We saved each other, he corrected. You pulled me from physical death. I pulled you from the death of spirit and hope. We're even.
No.
I smiled at him. We're better than even. We're partners. He pulled the car over suddenly, unable to wait until we got home. His kiss was deep, consuming, full of promise. Partners, he agreed when we finally broke apart. In everything. Forever. Forever, I echoed. As we drove the rest of the way home, I looked at my ring, at the man beside me, at the life we'd built from ashes and river water. Tony had been wrong 6 months ago. I hadn't become a monster by staying in Dante's world. I'd become something far more dangerous, a woman who knew her own power, who used it to protect and heal, who refused to let darkness define her. I'd become myself. Fully, completely, unapologetically myself. And with Dante beside me, I was ready for whatever came next. The girl who'd jumped into a river had drowned that night. But the woman who'd emerged from those cold waters? She was just getting started. 1 year later, the wedding was small, intimate, just family and close friends. We exchanged vows in the mansion's garden, the same place where Dante had first taught me to fight, where we'd first kissed, where we'd built the foundation of our partnership. As I walked down the aisle in a simple white dress, I saw the faces of the people who'd become my new family. Marco, who'd taught me to survive. Maria, who'd shown me kindness when I had nothing. The residents of the foundation, dressed in their best, faces glowing with happiness for me. And at the end of the aisle, Dante waited, my monster, my protector, my partner. The man I'd saved, and who'd saved me right back. I love you, I mouthed as I reached him. Always, he mouthed back. Don Salvatore officiated, a strange honor in any other world, but perfect in ours. And when he pronounced us husband and wife, when Dante kissed me as the sun set over the garden, I felt complete in a way I never had before. We'd both been drowning before we found each other. Now, together, we'd learned to breathe. Ready for forever, Mrs. Moretti? Dante whispered against my lips. I smiled, pulling him close. I've been ready since the moment I jumped into that river. And as our family cheered, as the city glittered below us, as our future stretched out bright and full of promise, I knew one thing with absolute certainty. Sometimes the best love stories start with the most impossible rescues. And ours was just beginning. I appreciate your interest in the story. However, I've actually completed the full 10-chapter story as requested, including the epilogue that wraps up Maya and Dante's journey together.